Rogers TV Durham would like to acknowledge that we are on the treaty and traditional territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation of the Mississauga Nation. May we respectfully honor the knowledge and understanding of the Indigenous stewards of these ancestral lands and ensure that the voices of the First Peoples are represented in our collections, programs, and services.
The opinions expressed in the following programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers nor Rogers TV.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of At the Heart of Business. I'm your host, Judith Tate. At the Heart of Business is a conversation with women in business discussing their challenges and successes. I'd like to welcome our first guest, Robyn Yack. Hi, Robyn.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Doing great and so glad to be here.
So glad to have you. Now, you are a real estate agent, broker, realtor. What's your title specifically?
Realtor or real estate agent. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I focus on helping couples going through a divorce or separation sell their matrimonial home.
Okay, great. I love it. So let's talk about that. That is a very unique angle as a realtor. How did you come up with that? Why would you go into that very specific niche?
So about 19 years ago, I myself got separated, and you don't know what you don't know. And I wished at the time that I would have had somebody to help guide me through the process of selling our matrimonial home. We put it up for sale, and I used the agent that my ex-husband wanted to use, and I didn't know I had other choices. It didn't sell. And then it sat on the market. We had to live together until it sold. And so there was a lot of things I didn't know in terms of the process behind selling the matrimonial home, going through a divorce.
And because you mentioned that you didn't know that you could have your own realtor. So expand on that a bit further. Like, are you able to have separate realtors when you're going through a divorce? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that the two parties need to agree on one real estate agent, and they actually don't. Obviously, it's easier if you're working with one agent, but very often it's an acrimonious separation, and he doesn't want to use who she wants, and she doesn't want to use who he wants. And so they can each have their own separate agents. It's called a co-listing. And there's different things that are involved when you're having a listing that's co-listed by two different brokerages that needs to be taken care of. But everybody's interests need to be served. And it's very important that you're aware that each of you can be represented by your own agent.
That's great. I love it. Now, you mentioned going through divorce, and there's just a lot of stuff that you didn't know. How do you help women going through a divorce? Like, what kind of support do you provide them? How do you educate them? Like, why should they come to you and not just a general real estate agent?
Right. So the first thing, when you're getting separated, the first two things that you deal with, generally speaking, are selling your matrimonial home and custody of the children. So, when people come to us, not only are we here to provide them with guidance on what is involved with selling their home, but we really want to make sure that they are aware of all the steps that they're going to need to take moving forward when throughout their divorce process. It's kind of like having a divorce for dummies. Unfortunately, there isn't a book like that we would have all benefited from. But we want to make sure that they know all the professionals that they need to surround themselves with to make sure that they have the proper tribe around them to get them through to the other side of their divorce. And that means having a mortgage broker that specializes in divorce, you know, a life insurance person, a financial advisor, an accountant. So we will provide them with a list of professionals to help them get to the other side. They don't have to deal with everything right away, but we will guide them through the process. It's a very difficult emotional process, and we want to be able to help them get to the other side.
That's amazing. Now, when you were going through your divorce, having all those resources or that tribe that you just spoke of, how would that have helped you back then?
Oh my God, I wish I had known all these things and all these people. I was the one who actually left in my divorce. And even as prepared as I was, and I really believed that I was prepared, I wasn't. You know, you don't know what you don't know. And I still like remember for myself, you know, I had planned it. I knew when I was going to tell him I was leaving. I knew all the next steps I was going to take. And yet I still remember, you know, the biggest challenge that I ever had was standing on the corner of Yonge and Eglinton. And it was my payday, and I was waiting for my pay to go in so that I could pay the mortgage, but his pay was supposed to go in the day before. And I went to go deposit my actual physical check, because we had physical checks back then. And I deposited the money, and I looked at how much money was in my account, and I almost died because there wasn't enough money for the mortgage payment to go through. And I stood there on the corner of Yonge and Eglinton and cried and didn't know where to go, what to do. And here I was the one who had it all planned. I was taking charge, but yet I as much as I planned it, I didn't. I was struggling.
Oh no. So what did you do? Like, how did you move on from there?
So it's interesting because I think that was a big trauma for me. So I think I remember the event, but I've blocked out exactly the steps that I took after. Obviously, I'm here now, 19 years later, and I sold that house and a couple of others along the way. So I obviously figured out how to, you know, maybe I reached out to my parents or somebody, in some manners, it helped me. I know I for sure reached out to my family lawyer because he needed to be advised that he was not allowed to do that. So even if you get separated, and even if he left, but he didn't, he was still in the house, you're still responsible for paying the mortgage, each of you 50-50, and you just can't back away from it. So these are other things that we can help guide our clients on in making sure that they know what their rights are, what they're owed during the sale of this most expensive asset of theirs.
Good. Now, couples that are married versus couples that are common law. Is there a difference?
Yes, that's a very good question. It is very different. So the Family Law Act of Ontario does not apply to couples who are common law. So if you are married, then there is such a thing as a matrimonial home, and whether you are on title or not, so whether it's listed that you are an owner of the property or not, that house cannot be sold without your consent. However, with common law, there is no such thing as a matrimonial home. What you bring in to the relationship is what you take out. So if your name is not on title and you do not have any agreement with your ex-spouse as to having put in money into the home, then they can sell the house and you have nothing, you have no stake in it. So it's very important before you get into a common law relationship and you're going to buy a house to share, that you speak to a family law lawyer so that you have the proper documentation in place. And if you are getting separated in a common law relationship, that you do speak to, and again, you can speak to a family law lawyer to know what your rights are.
Wow, that's really good information.
Yeah, a lot of people are not aware of that. A lot of people think that if you've been in a relationship common law for 1 year or 3 years, that you have the same rights as a married couple. With respect to the matrimonial home, that is actually not the case.
So if a couple gets together and they buy a house together, can the one person just sell the house without the permission of the other?
If only one person's name is on the property.
Oh, so you got to make sure your name, like both names are on the property.
They make sure both names are on the
Got it.
property, because then you can't sell without both parties consenting to it. And it's very important that you make it clear as to what percentage of the property each owns. So you could own it 50-50, you could own it 80-20. You have to have a document stating how much ownership each party has.
Okay, that's great info. So, I like, you are so knowledgeable, and I would feel comfortable as a woman coming to you, if I was going through a divorce, like, knock on wood. But I guess I have to say that, knock on wood. So like, you must also be kind of like an everything for someone, for women going through divorce, like a friend, a counselor. Like, how do you take care of yourself? Because that's a lot. And I know from going through a divorce many years ago, it's a very emotional time, right? How do you take care of yourself to make sure that your cup is always full so that you can properly serve your clients?
Well, I mean, I take care of myself. I'm physically active. I do professional development, but the reality is, it would seem like it would be draining, given and these are much more difficult transactions than your regular transaction. But for me, it's very fulfilling, helping people who are going through one of the darkest times in their lives, helping them work through it to find their new forever place, helping them get to where the sun shines. And I know that they will get there, is really very fulfilling for me, because I know what my struggle was. And so every day that I can provide guidance and help and console people and make them feel better. I remember how I felt when I was going through it, and just those little things that my family law lawyer would tell me and make me feel better is what makes it all worth it.
And what would you say is your biggest win?
You know what? Recently, we worked with a very acrimonious couple, and they were selling their matrimonial home, and they used 2 different agents. And for some reason, our client, the female, felt that her ex-spouse was doing everything underhanded and trying to, make money off the buyers who are buying the property. Now, it's highly unlikely, but even if he was, it was our job to tell her that the ultimate goal is to sell your property and make the most money you can, given the market, to get you to the other side so that you can move on. And we had a very hard time convincing her, and she was not having any of it, even though we were getting offers. And then we left her, we spoke to her, we had an offer on the table, we left her, and then out of the blue, we got an email from her, okay, I'm going to accept that offer. And we were shocked, because when we spoke to her, we felt like we're not getting through to this lady. And so she did sign back and sell the property. And we reached out to the family lawyer, and we told him that we managed to make a deal. And he was like, oh my God, how did you do that? Because he knew how hard and strong-minded she was, and how she was not going to budge. So that was a very big win, knowing that we were able to really get through to her and make her see that ultimately, this is a very high emotional time, but you have to think with your head, not your heart.
Thank you so much, Robyn. This is a great conversation.
Thank you.
And to our viewers, stay tuned. We'll be speaking with the queen of networking herself, Marlene Marco.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Understanding human nature can be a superpower.
The first 48 hours are critical.
What kind of idiot are you?
You're watching Rogers TV.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to At the Heart of Business. I'm your host, Judith Tate. At the Heart of Business is a conversation with women in business discussing their challenges and successes. Our next guest today is the queen of networking herself, Marlene Marco. Hi, Marlene.
Hi, Judith. Nice to be here.
Well, welcome. So tell us all about Heart of Networking and Heart of Networking events. What is that all about?
Heart of Networking is primarily a women's networking group for business women, entrepreneurs, and professionals. And we're built on 3 pillars: connection, education, and opportunity.
Excellent. Now, I know I call you the queen of networking, and I know a lot of other people do. Why does everyone call you the queen of networking?
Well, it's what I love to do, right? It is the sole focus of my business now is Heart of Networking. And I do get very involved in the local business community, not just with my own organization, but with others as well. And one of my favorite things to do is connect women with the women that they need to know to move their business forward, whatever that means in any given situation. And we've had Heart of Networking for 11 years now. We've been evolving. So it's become a term that I'm actually quite proud of.
That's amazing. I love it, of course, because this show is called At the Heart of Business.
Yes.
All right. And what is it that, what's your why for starting this? And how long ago did you start it?
We've been under the Heart of Networking brand for 11 years. I was actually another 5-6 years before that, partnered with 2 other women in another networking group. Okay. And it's really been, it is my passion to be able to help women make those connections and to be able to provide them with education, to be able to provide them with support and mentorship, and not to do all that myself by any means. I don't feel qualified for that, but I do feel qualified for bringing women together so that they can, we can all provide resources. We can all tap into the resources. There's so much talent in our organization.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know a lot of people get a little funny when it comes to networking. Funny as in like they're shy, or they're just afraid, or they feel like they don't belong. What words of encouragement would you give to someone who's completely new to networking?
And you're right. I mean, there are lots of people who just are afraid of the unknown, really. Yeah. It's just about having conversations with people. It's about building strong relationships and learning from one another. So when you look at it that way, it kind of takes the pressure off. I think that people do feel pressure when they first come in, especially if they're introverted and just not sure how to mingle. And so we do that. There's a process. We do a maximizing your membership workshop that helps people to, some of the icebreakers and that kind of thing. And we really try to, hold their hand a little bit in the beginning. We never just throw anybody in the deep end. And it's not long before they're ready to, even play a small speaking part in the meeting or get a little more involved because they see the benefits of it. You can't be the best kept secret in your industry and be successful. It just doesn't work that way.
Yes, I agree. And Heart of Networking was the very first group that I started to do my networking in. And of course, like, you are just amazing, and you and everyone else welcomed me with open arms. And I just remember, you probably remember, from the time I started to that time that I did my first speaking engagement. Oh my goodness, when you asked me, I thought I was going to die. But but that was really, that opened up so many other opportunities for me. It was amazing.
It sometimes is forcing yourself to take those steps, but that is one of the biggest compliments that I feel from Heart of Networking is when someone comes for the first time and says how welcome they were made to feel. And to me, that's the first step, right? I mean, it starts to open the door. And when you spoke at our annual fall conference, I know that was a big step for you. And we've had a number of people take that big step on that same stage. Now, of course, we're virtual with our fall conference. And it's just a great full day event where people learn from one another, and sometimes it's where people grow.
That's awesome. So tell us about this fall conference. What's it called?
It's called Reignite. This one will be our 11th annual, and it is held this year on October 17th. It is a full day virtual conference, so it's open to everyone. You don't have to be a member. You don't even have to be a woman for this one. Anybody can join in this one. We have a full day of speakers. We have lots of our local business support sponsoring, and I know it sounds like it would be a lot to sit in front of a computer for the day. We do keep it moving very quickly, and we have no objection if you need to turn your camera off and get up and move around and, do what you need to do and then come back to us. And that's one of the advantages of being on Zoom.
Yeah. All right. So if I was someone new and this was going to be my first event, what could I expect from the time it starts to the time it finishes?
Okay. So it starts at 8:30 in the morning. We do some networking first thing. It finishes at 4. We leave it open for networking actually until 4:30, but the actual program, 9 to 4. And so we cover topics like we have Tina Kalura, who is a productivity coach. So she'll be talking on that topic. Stacey Maynard, she's going to be speaking on podcasting for success. And Faye Chappell, Chat GPT. So those are two really timely topics. And those two ladies are actually two of the owners of Mastermind City. And that's another networking organization. We have Shailene McInnes, who is going to be speaking on onboarding new clients and the processes that help to make your business run smoothly. And then we have our community partner, Teresa Shaver, who is going to be speaking as well. And of course, she's well known in Durham region as an amazing small business coach and CEO of BACD. In between there, we do networking breakouts. So you'll meet people in smaller groups as well. And, a couple of little surprises in there as well. Some of our sponsors will be speaking. Our top sponsors, we have TD Bank back again this year, which they have sponsored us for many years. We also have as silver sponsors Hannah Stojanowski, Mortgages with Hannah. We have Shailene McInnes from Books in Line. And then our community sponsors, we have Annie Goudreau from Vive Wellness. We have Big World Creative for print and brand design. We have Phoenix Enterprises, and we also have the Pink Coach, who is a well-known business coach in this area. We have the town of Ajax and the city of Pickering. And then our community partner is BACD, the Business Advisory Center of Durham. So many of those are repeat sponsors, and they do come back because it is such a great event and because it gives them exposure in the small business community. And we are going to have an early bird, some special benefits for early birds, and that's anyone who registers by September the 10th. And so there will be things like a gift package going out to those early registrants. And we have what we call a golden ticket. So we put 3 of these out into the boxes, and then it's a surprise when they open it who gets the golden ticket and who gets those prizes. So we do some fun things like that as well.
Oh my goodness, what a full day.
It is. It is. We keep it moving really quickly, and there's so much. We do record it as well for the attendees, and there's so much. There's always so much to learn, and some of our topics this year are brand new to the conference, but brand new to all of us in business as well.
Yeah, like ChatGPT. I'm obsessed. It's amazing.
And we want to take the fear out of that, right? I mean, we want people to be comfortable using it and not to be afraid of it. We can't ignore it. It's here. And you can't stick your head in the sand. You have to, you don't have to learn how to use it, but you're going to get left in the sand if you don't.
Yes, I agree. And I really like that you say that we have to get comfortable with it, because I think a lot of people are very afraid of AI and it's going to take over the world. But I agree. It's best to know it and understand it so that you can work with it, even if you don't want to use it yourself. So very good point. Yeah. All right. So you have this event every year. What impact has it had in the community and on businesses and people's lives?
Yeah, we get a lot of really good feedback from the conference, things that that people have learned that they can start to use right away in their everyday life, their everyday business, things that maybe new tools or new methods that they hadn't really thought of before, or a way to fine tune those new methods. There's also been a number of collaborations come out of the day as well. So people that have met there and then end up, maybe they run a workshop together, or they work together somehow. They find somebody who serves the same market as they do, just in a different way. And then that becomes a perfect cross-promotion opportunity.
That's great. And how do you measure the success of the event?
It's what people do with it. We can learn all we can learn. And then the next step is to put it into action. So I do like to do follow-up with not necessarily with every single attendee, but certainly with anybody that I don't hear back from and doesn't, some people leave us a great review. We know that's been helpful for them. But I also like to check in with some of the ones that aren't quite so vocal, because that's really the only way to know whether it has been a success for them. I want them to put that information to use.
And do you have a specific demographic for this event? Can everybody and anybody join it?
Anybody that is looking to grow and build their business. And it doesn't matter how many years you've been in business. We have some really seasoned people that are there every year because, you can learn something, just a new way to tweak something that you're already doing, perhaps. And it just recharges your batteries. And then the newer business owners, of course, they're just gobsmacked because of everything that they learned that day, and the people that they meet, in the breakout rooms, and they're people that they can maybe reach out to. It may be, somewhere along the line, they may need to hire a virtual assistant, for instance, or a bookkeeper or somebody for their team, and they may find that person at the conference.
That's amazing. Well, thank you so much, Marlene. This is a great conversation, and good luck with the event. Not that you need luck, because it's always a success.
Well, we're always very excited to build it and to actually execute it in October. It's always an exciting time for us.
Thank you. All right. Thanks for joining us, and thanks to our viewers for joining us. Tune in next time for another episode of At the Heart of Business.